This hearing is now in order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Howard A. Dennis, and I am the Vice Chairman of the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission, representing Montgomery County. On behalf of WSSC Water and its staff, I welcome you to this public hearing on our proposed budgets for fiscal year 2023. I would like to introduce colleagues and members of our leadership team and key staff who are here this evening. Commissioner Eloise Foster and Commissioner Fausto Bayonet. General Manager, Chief Executive Officer Carla Reed, Director of Customer Service Crystal Knight Lee, Budget Division Manager Letitia Carolina Powell, and Operating Budget Section Manager Faria Babar. Tonight's hearing will give the public an opportunity to comment on the agency's proposed capital and operating budget and rate requirements for fiscal year 2023, which begins July 1st, 2022. This hearing continues WSSC Water's commitment to transparency and follows extensive public outreach efforts. Please note that this public hearing is only for the fiscal year 2023 proposed budgets. The highlights of the proposed budgets have been prepared in summary form and included in the preliminary proposed budget that was distributed for public review in January. The fiscal year 2023 estimated expenditures for all funds amounts to nearly $1.6 billion, or about $34 million more than WSSC Water's fiscal year 2022 approved budget. Please note that WSSC Water has lost approximately $150 million in revenue since the start of the pandemic, and 1 in 5 of our customers, 20%, is behind in their bills. We have not yet received federal, state, or county assistance to help address these delinquencies though our repeated requests are ongoing. As a result, $150 million in budget cuts were necessary since fiscal year 2020. We are disciplined to have a balanced budget. The fiscal year 2023 preliminary proposed budget sadly includes $23 million in operating budget reductions that will negatively impact services. These reductions were necessary to deliver a balanced budget based on a 7% average rate increase. The spending affordability guidelines required by law are established by each county and included a 6.5% rate increase limit. However, WSSC believes further budget cuts would result in an unacceptable level of service. A 7% rate increase will add approximately $5.64 per month to the bill of a customer using 165 gallons per day. Given that most of our residential customers are billed quarterly, the additional amount would be an average $16.92 a quarter. That's $16.92 every 3 months for a typical 3-person household. I would now like to ask the Budget Division Manager, Letitia Carolina Powell, to brief us on the preliminary proposed budget.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Letitia Carolina Powell, and I'm the Budget Division Manager for WSSC Water, and I will be providing an overview of the fiscal year 23 preliminary proposed capital and operating budget. Next slide, please. We did extensive public outreach and used a variety of methods to inform our customers of tonight's public hearing. We included a front page article about the public hearings in our customer newsletter, Pipeline, which was delivered to WSSC customers in October, November, and December. We placed an ad in the Washington Post that appeared on January 6th, as well as ads in the Prince George's Post and the Bethesda Beat. We issued news releases to local media and key stakeholders. We emailed hearing details to customers via Constant Contact. We also posted information on WSSC Water's website, promoted them on our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And tonight's meeting is also being broadcast on County Cable Montgomery. Next slide, please. WSSC water system is extensive and covers approximately 1,000 square miles. The system includes 2 water filtration plants. One is on the Potomac River and one is on the Patuxent River. The purple areas on the map are served by the Potomac plant, and the blue area is served by the Patuxent plant. The green shaded area receives blended water, which is a mix of water from both plants. These plants produce 163 million gallons of water each day, which is delivered to our 1.9 million residents in Montgomery and Prince George's counties. We also have 6 water resource recovery facilities, more than 11,000 miles of water and sewer pipes, which must be maintained, 3 water storage dams and reservoirs, 60 water storage tanks, 55 wastewater pumping stations, and in our 103-year history, we've had 0 water quality violations. Next slide. This budget supports all of our strategic priorities, which are to enhance customer experience, spend customer dollars wisely, optimize infrastructure, protect our resources, and transform employee engagement. Next slide. These next 2 slides list some terms that you will hear or see on some of the slides during this presentation. The capital budget funds long-term investment like infrastructure and facilities, like the items that were listed on the WSSC at a glance slide. Debt service consists of principal and interest payments on money borrowed to fund the capital budget. The operating budget pays for the daily business of running WSSC Water, including maintenance and debt service. Pay-as-you-go financing, which we also call PAYGO, funds expenditures with cash instead of debt. Next slide. Now I'll talk briefly about our ready-to-serve charges. As you may know, WSSC Water is a nonprofit public utility, and our rates produce only the revenues needed to support our services and operations. Along with variable rates, which are based on the volume of water used, our rate structure is comprised of fees that are fixed. And fixed fees are charged regardless of the volume of water that is used. Our ready-to-serve charges represent those 2 fees. Simply put, our ready-to-serve charges ensure that we are ready to serve our customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with safe, clean, and satisfying water services. The account maintenance fee recovers costs associated with the expenses and overhead of maintaining and servicing each of our accounts. This includes the cost of purchasing and reading meters, generating and mailing bills, collecting payments, and providing exceptional customer service. For the typical residential home with a 3/4-inch meter, the fee will be $17 per quarter. This is a $1 per quarter increase on the fee, and this fee has not changed in 7 years. The infrastructure investment fee funds a portion of the debt service associated with our water and sewer main reconstruction program. Again, for a typical residential home with a 3/4-inch meter, the fee will be $13 per quarter, and this is prorated based on the number of days in a billing cycle. This too is a $1 increase. This fee has not changed in 6 years. The Bay Restoration fee is $15 per quarter, and it is levied by the state of Maryland. WSSC Water collects the Bay Restoration fee and sends them to the Comptroller of Maryland for restoration and the health of the Chesapeake Bay. Regional sewage disposal. Not all of WSSC Water's wastewater is treated at WSSC facilities. Regional sewage disposal is WSSC Water's share of maintenance and operating costs at DC Water's Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant. Next slide, please. This slide shows the budget by major expense category. The preliminary proposed operating budget is $872 million. Because WSSC Water is capital intensive and borrows money to finance capital expenditures, the largest portion of the operating budget is debt service at 38%. Next slide, please. The preliminary proposed capital budget is $716.7 million. Contract work is 60% of this budget and is by far the largest component. Next slide, please. The combined capital and operating budget totals nearly $1.6 billion and includes a 7% rate increase. During spending affordability, both county executives recommended a 7% rate increase limit, while both county councils recommended 6.5%. Our long-term fiscal plan, however, showed that a 9% rate increase is needed to support the capital improvements program and adequately fund operations. In order to deliver a budget based on a 7% rate increase, we cut $23 million from the fiscal year 23 operating budget. There are service impacts associated with these cuts, and cutting further would lead to an unacceptable level of service. $6.3 million was cut from our production department. These are reductions to our plants and our facilities budgets. This includes $1.2 million for materials, which increases the risk that much needed repairs at our facilities will not be completed. $4.7 million was cut from the utility services budget, including $1.8 million for emergency response. This jeopardizes timely response to emergencies that may result in increased fines due to sanitary sewer overflows. $4.2 million was cut from engineering and construction, including $2.6 million for critical sewer work, which increases the likelihood of sewer overflows due to infiltration and inflow in the Piscataway sewer basin. $1 million was cut from customer service, which increases customer complaints, work backlog, and employee stress. Next slide, please. We are considering $100 million in capital improvement program reductions to address rating agency concerns. The proposed reductions will be presented to the commissioners later this month. We are planning a debt refunding in the spring if market conditions are favorable. We are also seeking funding opportunities from the federal government and are pursuing state funding and customer financial assistance. And next slide. And this concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Letitia, could you go into the connection between our budget and the AAA bond rating, or can someone discuss that? It's my understanding that there's an intimate connection. The healthier the budget, the lower interest, the higher our rating, up all the way up to AAA, and the higher your rating, the less interest you pay. And obviously, if you have a lower rating, you pay more interest, and our ratepayers be paying more interest. That's my understanding of it. Anyway.
Yes, that is correct. It's like the equivalent. You could say it's equivalent to a credit score for agencies. So AAA is the highest rating that an agency can obtain. And with that, our debt financing is lower. So when we borrow money or we issue bonds, which is borrowing money, we would pay a lower interest rate. If we had a lower rating, a rating from the credit agencies or the rating agencies, we would have to pay a higher interest rate on the money that we borrow.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the rating companies, they want to know if we're paying for things or just pushing off things to a subsequent year or decade, and so that's what goes into their evaluation as to whether or not we get a good a bond rating and save our ratepayers high interest payments. Does that pretty much sum it up, Letitia?
Well, they do have some concerns. They have expressed concerns on whether or not our rate increases are high enough to continue serving the debt, being able to pay for the debt that we have issued. There are concerns that, we'll be able to adequately support our CIP and invest in our infrastructure.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and they follow this very carefully on a year-round basis. And also, it's my understanding that we are our sewer we're the biggest customer for DC Water. It's my understanding. So the connection between us and the nation's capital through our sewer services is very very tight. And I noticed that the debt service as a percentage of the operating budget was 37.9%. And which is, it's always been my understanding that if you're under 40%, you're on the right side. You're doing well, and it looks on its face like it's an enormous percentage, and it is an enormous percentage. 37.9% of the entire operating budget goes to pay off the debt, which you have to pay off, but you want to keep it under 40%. So, can you tell me what our trend is for keeping under 40%? I think we've kept under 40% as long as I can recall, but is this lower or higher than in previous years, the 37.9?
Off the top of it, it's pretty close to where we've been, but it's been creeping up. We've been keeping it below the 40%, but it has been creeping up, and the rating agencies have expressed concern about our leverage, our outstanding debt that has been growing.
And the 40% is an informal benchmark. There's nothing official or legal about that. That's just kind of a best practice sort of thing. Is that right? I think. Yeah. Is that right, Letitia?
It's one of our policies.
Yes.
It is in our financial policies.
To help keep the AAA, to help keep our bond rating and stay fiscally sound. Okay, so before we receive public testimony, do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments they'd like to share? No? Okay, hearing your mic is off, Eloise, but I saw you shake your head in the negative. So.
I was just going to thank Letitia for the presentation. I really don't have any questions. I think you followed up sufficiently. You did a great job, Mr. Chair.
Fine, thank you. Thank you, Letitia. I certainly share those sentiments. Your feedback is very important to us. This hearing record will be kept open until Monday, February 15th, and we will consider all public comments received by that date. Budget will be transmitted to the executive and councils of both counties on March 1st. Each speaker tonight will be limited to 3 minutes. As a reminder, the dial-in number is 240-800-7929, and the conference ID is 525-328-559#. Speakers, please provide your name and indicate whether you are currently a WSSC Water customer. If your comments are longer than 3 minutes, you may provide the remainder of your comments via email or regular mail. We will now receive public comments via the dial-in number.
And Mr. Vice Chair, I'm scanning the incoming inbox and I don't see any quite yet. So let's hold on just maybe a few more seconds and see if anybody calls. No, Mr. Vice Chair, I still don't have any callers waiting to come in.
Okay. I would now like to ask Fariha Babar of the Budget Division to report on any written correspondence that has been received for the record.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Fariha Babar. I'm the Operating Budget Section Manager at Wssc Water. As of today, we have not received any written comments concerning the FY23 preliminary proposed budget. If any new correspondence is received until the close of the record, it will be included in the next commission packet, become part of the record for this hearing, and will be transmitted to the 2 counties. The transcript of this hearing will also be provided to the 2 counties. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for attending our budget process. This public hearing is now concluded. These proceedings are closed. The time is now 7:21 p.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Council Vice President Gabe Albornoz recently participated in one of the focus groups.
When I went, I saw some vulnerability.